Disclaimer, blah blah blah.
What's your favorite kind of monkey? What?
Has anyone ever witnessed something delightfully demented? Well, some people may not always mix those two things together, but when done right, this would be one of those examples. Good meow, everyone! Welcome to my review of Making Fiends. As we go into this review, I'd like to say that this review is also going to be a pretty deep analysis. I don't know how deep we're gonna go, but I'll deepen to the best that my sanity can handle. Making Fiends was created by Amy Winfrey. I'll touch up more on her production history later. Trust me, it's for the best. The show was produced and directed by Dave Wasson, Dave Knott, Martin Kendretta, and Matt Mahaffey. He was in the band Self. The show was played on Nicktoons Network. The channel also aired 3 Delivery, Wolverine and the X-Men, Iron Man Armored Adventures, and Kappa Mikey! Making Fiends is about a nice stupid blue girl named Charlotte who moved into a town called Clamberg. That town has been spiraling down thanks to an evil green girl appropriately named Vendetta.
Vendetta. That's a pretty name. Is it French? My name's Charlotte. I don't care.
Vendetta makes these fiends, which are mutated creatures with mind who can only grasp the concept of destruction and dismay. She also made a giant hamster named Grudge, who is referred to by Vendetta as just Hamster, or sometimes Stupid Hamster. Ever since Charlotte came into the midst of mass hysteria, things don't always go as Vendetta had planned. Most of the time, the reason why is either because of a fiend who misbehaved / screwed things up, or it could be a number of reasons for it depending on the episode in question. As for the other characters in the show, they exist, but most of the attention is focused on Charlotte and Vendetta. Let's go through some of the side characters a bit. Mr. Milk, a soft-spoken teacher, Charlene, Charlotte's grandma, Vendetta's giant cat, aka Hellcat or Fiend Cat.
Tempt not, yon Hellcat.
Tempt not yon Fiend Cat.
Buttons, Charlotte's hamster, the Scissors Fiend, Charlotte's new pet puppy.
Thank you so much for the new puppy, Vendetta. I gave him lots of love. And paper.
Malachi, the purple student who is also a Puritan who speaks in Elizabethan English. Marion, who's been digging a tunnel from Clamberg to Canada in hopes of escaping Clamberg. Maggie, the ever-depressed student who dwells in darkness. There's also Marvin.
And that's how this banana saved my life.
He is...
My hair. My clothes. My banana.
This man is a legend! The episodes in the series are not interconnected to each other. I mean, if you have to start off on an episode, obviously the first episode is what you want to go for, because the two main characters are so well developed, leaving me wanting to come back for more. As for the episodes being hit and miss, I can't really say that this is a hit and miss cartoon. I haven't really seen a bad episode of Making Fiends at all. My favorite episode has to be Toupee. The episode where Mr. Milk gets a toupee, which actually turns out to be a fiend given by her student Vendetta. The toupee has an extremely outstandingly outgoing and charming personality. The wig later tells Mr. Milk that he can help him become a Swiss banker by destroying Charlotte. Of course, the ending was predictable, but the twist at the very end was actually quite funny. And it was a good episode. I liked it because finally someone else other than Charlotte gets to sing a musical number in an episode.
Could I be a Swiss banker? I could count Swiss francs while I yodel, eat fondue with the locals, work with clients overseas, keep us safe filled up with cheese.
And it has the character Mr. Milk learn a lesson about courage. The writing for this cartoon is actually really good despite the episodes having a formula to them, which would be Charlotte being stupid and happy, Vendetta always hating her, Vendetta making a fiend hoping that things go dreadfully as she planned, and yet her plan failed. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, but there's some complex writing going on here. Every time Vendetta and Charlotte are trapped together in some freak accident of some sort, Vendetta is suffering and we sorta understand how she feels. And yet, I personally couldn't really pity her because she was the one to have the town turned to a little slice of hell. But we start questioning who the real villain of the show is. Charlotte is completely oblivious to everything bad happening in Clamberg and how evil Vendetta is. Maybe she's just that stupid, or maybe there's something more to this character than we thought.
Run, you stupid girl!
The art in the show is simplistic but memorable, even going as far as to describe it as iconic. Each character is a different color, but the background and props in the show have their own respected colors, and it's a really memorable art style. As far as the animation goes in Making Fiends, depending on which version you're watching, it's either not good or great. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to do a couple of comparisons of several cartoons. First off, you can see right here that the Nicktoons version of Making Fiends is a huge step up from the podcast's version when it comes to just overall quality of the final product. While the Nicktoons version might look, feel, or even sound better, when it comes to the fans of Making Fiends, or dare I even call them the Fiendom, most of them think that the Nick podcast's version is better than the Nicktoons version. It could be that it's because the cartoon seems more authentic in its web cartoon nature, or maybe that the cartoon felt darker and it probably should have just stayed like that in terms of hitting close to home. Or maybe just because. As much as I respect your opinions, I think that the Nicktoons Network version is better. Now have a look of the quality of the Nick podcast version of Making Fiends and the South Park pilot. I didn't really think it until I was in the progress of making this review, but the way the characters move reminded me of South Park. Of course, this is because Amy Winfrey, creator of Making Fiends, was one of the assistant animators of older South Park episodes. Speaking of Making Fiends being a webtoon, let's compare the Nicktoons Network version of Making Fiends to Homestar Runner. The quality of both cartoons are absolutely great, and it's almost hard to believe that this cartoon went from South Park to Homestar Runner. Possible, but absolutely unbelievable. The voice acting is absolutely solid, spot on, despite some characters looking similar to each other. They have different voices and different styles of dialogue that make their personalities shine on through.
I've always wanted to swing with you. No! I do not swing!
As for the music, it's a mix between something you'd hear out of a music box or something that you'd hear out of a horror movie. It's not the most iconic of soundtracks, but it does perform well. It sounds good, and I like the idea of different styles and mood of background music.
Monkeys rarely bathe. Monkeys never save up coupons, 'cause they have nothing to buy.
If there's anything here that's common about the soundtrack in the show, it's Charlotte always singing songs in the show.
Monkeys stay up late. Ooh, thanks, Vendetta. I just know we're going to be friends forever and ever. Monkeys never wait for buses, 'cause they have nowhere to be.
Overall, Making Fiends is a delightfully dark and iconic cartoon, and definitely one of the better cartoons to come out of Nicktoons Network or Nickelodeon in general. If you're looking for something spooky to watch in celebration of Halloween, this is one of the many cartoons you're looking for. Happy Halloween, and ciao for now!